It is incredibly frustrating to experience the sharp, burning pain of peripheral neuropathy, only to have a doctor look at your blood work and declare that your vitamin B12 levels are normal. You are in clear distress, yet the paperwork says you are fine. The confusion comes from a metric called the RDA, or Recommended Daily Allowance. For vitamin B12, the standard government recommendation is exactly 2.4 micrograms per day. But the RDA was never designed to map out optimal human health. It was established decades ago simply as the absolute minimum baseline of nutrients required to keep a human being alive. This historical photograph shows what happens when a body falls below that baseline. The RDA was calculated specifically to prevent fatal, severe deficiency diseases, like the physical deformities of rickets shown here, or scurvy. Relying on a survival metric to heal active nerve damage is like trying to rebuild a collapsed house using a single piece of wood. It provides a tiny fraction of the necessary materials. A healthy body at rest has very different nutritional requirements than a body actively battling peripheral neuropathy. The healthy body is simply maintaining its status quo. The neuropathy patient is in a state of constant, active cellular damage. Because the nervous system is actively breaking down, it completely drains the body's normal reserves of vitamin B12. The biological demand for raw building materials skyrockets as the body attempts to fix the frayed nerves. This chart compares that tiny survival baseline with what clinical research calls the optimal daily allowance. We see the microscopic 2.4 micrograms of the RDA on the left, completely dwarfed by an ODA bar that reaches up to 10,000 micrograms. And that massive requirement continues to grow. If you introduce modern external stressors like high pollution, regular alcohol consumption, or intense physical fatigue, each one of these factors stacks on top, pushing your daily requirement even higher. Once your body is forced into a state of active biological regeneration, standard maintenance rules instantly become obsolete. To understand why the requirement is so high, we have to look closely at a single damaged nerve cell. When a nerve degrades, the protective coating around it frays, causing the nerve to misfire with erratic electrical signals. To fix this, the body specifically requires methylcobalamin. This is the only biologically active form of vitamin B12 capable of directly fueling cellular repair. Methylcobalamin drives a process called remyelination. It is the raw material the body uses to actively weave a new myelin sheath over frayed nerves. Clinical studies show the precise therapeutic dose to force this process is between 1,500 and 3,000 micrograms daily. Healing a damaged nerve is an industrial-scale reconstruction project. It demands an industrial-scale supply of raw materials, which is exactly why tiny microdoses fail to generate results. Hearing those numbers often triggers an immediate concern. Taking over 1,000 times the government-recommended baseline sounds like a recipe for a toxic overdose. However, extreme doses have been tested thoroughly. In one clinical study from Japan, researchers administered 60,000 micrograms of B12 daily to multiple sclerosis patients for 6 straight months. The patients experienced 0 toxic side effects. The reason it is so safe comes down to simple biology. Vitamin B12 is completely water-soluble. This illustrates the body's natural filtration system. Damaged nerves absorb the exact volume of B12 needed for remyelination, and the excess flows directly into the kidneys. The kidneys easily filter and safely excrete it. Because it is water-soluble, it cannot build up to toxic levels. High-dose B12 relies on this biological safety valve. It guarantees your damaged nerves get the absolute maximum fuel they can use with 0 risk of an overdose. If the biology is straightforward, it raises an obvious question. Why do commercial over-the-counter nerve support supplements fail to relieve neuropathy pain? The answer lies in a common industry practice known as label stuffing. Companies will list a dozen critical nutrients on the front of the box, but provide them in amounts so small they have 0 biological impact. Look at this typical supplement facts panel. You will often see synthetic, inactive forms of B12 or doses sitting at a microscopic 2 micrograms. It looks impressive to an uninformed buyer, but it provides nothing for actual remyelination. Having the correct ingredient on the label is entirely useless if the actual volume fails to cross the therapeutic threshold required to trigger cellular healing. To bypass this deception, look at 2 specific variables on the back of any supplement bottle: the serving size, and the amount per serving. This simple formula reveals exactly what you are putting into your body. You take the amount per serving and multiply it by the number of servings you are instructed to take per day to find your total daily microgram count. That final number must land between 1,500 and 3,000 micrograms, and right next to that number, the active ingredient must explicitly read methylcobalamin. Reversing nerve damage is not about surviving on a bare minimum allowance. It requires you to confidently flood your system with the safe, heavy-duty supplies your body desperately needs to rebuild.